Okay, hello everyone, welcome back to the stream. So in the last video, we added the ability to allow user to choose from the drawing mode and the selection mode. Whereas if the user is in the selection mode, they will be able to drag and select an object or just click an object if they are very precise. But the idea is that, oh, that's a different bug, so the user cannot select another object. We will fix that. But the main issue we're going to tackle in this video, I think, is the user now has the ability to transform the shape. But as you can see, the changes are not sent through HTTP request or WebSocket. So it's not sent to the backend, and the backend does not persist this data, and this data is, of course, not broadcasted to other clients. So if you refresh, all the changes on the transformation are gone. Yeah, so the main issue we're gonna tackle in this video is to persist that data and broadcast that through WebSocket to other clients. And if we have enough time, I might also want to work on drag and drop. I think that shouldn't be too hard, but we'll see. Because Canva has this built-in example of that somewhere. Go to transform events, right? So here's an example where you can transform it, resize, rotate, and you can move it around. So basically that's what we want to do in this video. Okay, let's get started. So where are we? Right, so I think the first thing we need to do is that basically we need a listener here in the selection handler to say, the basic idea is just to do something on transformation end. Transform end. Again, just referring back to the example. Yeah, the example here. So they have a listener on transform end. So the difference I think in our example in this Canva example is that in their example the listener is on the rectangle, right? But in our case, because we can select multiple objects, then I don't want to add listeners on all of them, so I'll try to add one listener on the transformation layer. I'm not sure if that's possible, but let's see. Okay, let's try something here. .tr. Let's see if this triggers. Well, I made triggers. That's good. Let's try that. Okay, also triggers. Okay, actually, I just want to briefly fix that bug where if you select something, then you won't be able to select anything else. So basically, it's like pretty ignore here. I'm not sure if that's the issue. First ignore. A mouse down. That seems fine to me. So I don't want to console log this anymore. I think we can do it here. Do it that way. Let's see. I select something, I can do resize it, which is good, and I can deselect. Although this behavior is kind of not great, but I'm not exactly sure what it's selecting there, but like mostly works. Mostly works. That's interesting. Well, maybe I'll spend some more time on this later, but most working is good enough for me right now. Okay. So here, I guess the thing I want to do is, because at this point I know all the nodes that I'm transforming, so I can get that by doing nodes equals to this dot board tr dot nodes, right? So this one will give you all the nodes that it's transforming. Let's see. Right, so right now you have one line here, but if you select multiple lines, then you can see have 6 lines, which looks right to me. So I think let's just continue from here, right? I guess for each of the nodes we want to know like how they are changed, or not how they're changed, because that implies we're getting the delta of the changes, but what we're trying to get here, I think, is the absolute value that they are being transformed to, right? So for example, we're not trying to get this shape is rotated 30 degrees, but we want to say that the information we want to get is that this shape is rotated to 30 degrees. Well, let's see. Let's just do an experiment here, right? That something. So of all the attributes, basically here we're just trying to get what attributes we want to get from here, right? Blur. Get absolute transform. Is there a get transform? Let's see. Transform. Transform basically encapsulates the scale, rotate, translate, skew. I think this is gonna work, though I'm not sure if we should use get transform, get absolute transform, or get transform. Let's see. I think get absolute transform will basically compose the object's transform with its parent's transform. Right, basically all its ancestors. transform, I guess. Well, this really depends on what kind of things we want to do, right? So if we have a ledger, I think we want to use get transform, because for example, if the node will have a parent, in that case the parent right now is always the ledger. If we want to apply a transform on the ledger, then we will just apply a transform on the ledger, and then we'll apply each individual transforms on the objects. So I think that makes more sense. This is basically an object, right? We want to like JSON serialize that. Decompose. Transform constructor. I mean, I think like conceptually we could be able to get away with like getting the skew and the rotate and scale separately, but I just think just doing a transform might be easier. Let's see. Well, I just want to make sure that the decompose, actually, let's just try this, right? Oops. Well, I think we can just like console log this transform, just play around with it. That. Well, so we have this transform. So I think the internal representation of the transform is just basically a tuple, an array of 6 numbers. I don't know exactly what do they represent, but I think those 6 numbers are all the numbers that I need to to represent the transformation information. Now, the issue is that how do I? Okay, let's see. Right, and .m, and I need to just console log. Right, so this is our reconstructed transform. .m, right, dot decomposed, I believe. So this should be the same, right? Yeah, it looks like it. So basically what this means is that so this .aim is basically a way to serialize the transform, and we can just do this here to basically construct a new transform. So let's try that. Right. So immediately I see one issue that need to be solved is that we might want to have an ID for all the objects, right? Because I don't know if so here, right? So basically I want a way to say transforms, and here's gonna be a key equals node dot transform get transform dot m, but I just don't know what this key should be. And right, we can use this node dot ID, but I think ID just by default is none, right? Right, it's empty string by default. So I mean we can just use the ID from the database here, right? To JSON, just do ID would be the string of self.pk. Okay. Okay. The other thing we need to do is that when we save the join object back into the base layer, we need to also add the ID to the object, and that happens on board. We might want to clean this up sometime, but Right, so basically this line here, right? This object need to have an ID, but it doesn't have an ID at this point. So I think it makes sense to return an ID from here. Let's see. So that ID is the temporary ID. Basically, we want to do something like that, and then I just mutate the object, whatever. So first we need to change the type. Board object and ID optional. It's still optional for now. And this right now doesn't return anything. It returns that. So we'll need to get the data here. This should be return data.id. But this data doesn't have an ID yet, so I need to change it here, which gets the ID from here. Right, let's try that. Well, first of all, to have it correct, let's try this. Board.ledger.region map item.id. Oh, so that did not work. Let's see. So this should have ID though. Oh, right. There's another, I believe, another add call. Is in the convert function here. Let's just do it here. I'm not sure if that type is correct. Right? Do that again. Okay, good. Now those objects have ID. If I draw something, they like the new objects have IDs. That's great. So if let's say if I receive something, okay, that's broken. So where does that come from? So that comes from socket message. Comes from here. But this already updated, which means the payload doesn't have the ID. The payload comes from consumer. Payload comes from here, which means it's from view data objects, object data. Right. Let's try it. Okay, if I draw something, okay, great, I still have the ID here. Yeah, so we just made sure that everything has an ID. It's good. Now Here we just need to use this ID. We just need to send this data to somewhere else. Right. So we have this bunch of data here, and we need to send it to the backend, save it in the database, and then broadcast it to the other clients. It's interesting that the object that's in the center here is not being selected. Now it works. Oh, let's worry about it later. So basically we just need to copy everything we have here. Let me actually just copy it. Right. So I just change it to set object headers, make it more generic. Do I need a board ID? Well, let's have it here. Let's keep it here for now. And headers, objects headers, and that would be so I imagine it looks something like this. The ID of the object and the attributes that we're setting. Right, something like this. So I'm not doing an object because I don't know like what's the I don't know at this point what the front end, the generated data format will be on the front end. So this one I allow the possibility to have let's say the same ID, but we're setting different attributes on it, right? Although I think eventually we need to merge those headers if the IDs are the same. I mean, I think it's fine. Okay. Headers by ID. It's just gonna be that. Then we just loop through. Then we'll do we should do all that right now. But we do need to call something with the Django ORM, so that's gonna be in a wrapper of database async to sync. So let's just do it here. This is gonna be let's call it let's change the name here just to be consistent. Something like that, and of course we need to define it. Don't bother. Okay. And then we need to broadcast the changes. Right. Okay, something like that. Here, don't know exactly what should we return. Just do that. Okay, so here we need to get all the IDs. Like, we get both first, right? So and we'll need to get I think we need a transaction here. Because I kind of want to use a select for update on this because well, ideally we can use some kind of atomic updates on the JSON object in board object data on not this file, on this file. But I think Django doesn't have a built-in JSON function for all the database backends, right? So you kind of need to use that, write a adapter or a Django database function sort of for different backends, which you could do, but let's keep it simple for now. Right. Something like that. Yeah. We just need to do the update, and it's gonna be adders by ID. I think I just converted everything to string, so just do it here as well. Right, something like that. So on the front end, the data format we are aiming for looks like something like this: ID and adders, but in this case the adders are always transform and 6 numbers here, right? So let's just change this to updates. Updates will be actually let's define a type here, right? Because the object type now also have an optional transform. No, it's basically optional errors. Transform is number 6 of that. Right, so the updates will be string as the ID, and then board object adders, array of that. So updates, that's updates the push node ID, and then node.get what's it called? Node.get transform .m. All right, that needs to be transformed. Right, because the type definition here is not actually, it's not actually correct, I guess, or maybe it is. It's just like I'm not aware of that. Well, it's just like convert areas into the built-in convert types, right? And we should be able to do it here. About the transform int, not copy. Right, so at least that's consistent. Right, so let's do a console log here. Okay, it's still loading. That's great. Now, right, so well, it looks like it's correct. Let me try again, actually. So transform. Yep, looks like it's correct. Just need to send this to backend. We'll just copy the code here. Do I have to fetch? Okay. Just copy everything from here. Oh. Right, I just do that. I think eventually I would want this to be in the handler above, like in a join handler. But not right now, I guess. Just make it public, whatever. And this is gonna look like, what's the name here? Object setters. In the URL, right? We have a URL. And it's just going to be updates, right? And something like that. Though I don't need this part. Well, I just console log the response. Well, actually, just console log data just in case. Okay. Let's see. See what happens. This one here, I rotate. Well, it sends something and something comes back and it says okay, true, so that's promising. If I refresh that, it goes back because I'm not using that information here, right? I need to apply the transform here. Well, let's just do shape. And here it's going to be shape equals to that, and default break. And if not shape, then throw and so obj will have a transform, right? So maybe we can do if that, then we get a transform equals to over the transform, and that's going to be exactly this. Now, how do we apply this? Okay. How about decompose? Decompose basically gives you like the XY, like the attribute names and their desired values, right? So not keys, entries for each. Got a key, got a value, and then we can just call. Hopefully the names are consistent, and I believe they are. Right, I can do something like this. And we need to retain the shape. Let's try that. I don't know if it worked or not, but let's select that. Let's make it huge, right? Just so that it's obvious. Yeah, that works. Okay. Let's try something like that. Well, it seems like it's working. Now, I think I already broadcasted the change here, right? It's just like not being persisted, like not being applied locally when you get a change from remote. Let's do that. Messages. Okay. Okay, so how about that? If I turn that around, right, I get the I see. Right. So I have the message available to me here. Let me update the type first. We have another type, which is that, and it'll have data. The data looks like object setters. That's not a I just want to change the case a little bit. What? Right here. Right. And that's gonna be this one. Object setters is gonna look like it's going to be an object where the key is a string and the value is just 4 object setters. Right? So here you just do something like okay, so here basically the first thing we need to do is to find the objects. So again, object entries. Right, what I'm doing for each, and this is gonna give me the ID of the object and the transform address, or just address, because it could be something else. So to find the object, we can do this dot later find one actually, and that's gonna be I think ID. Yeah. So here's a case where if I get an ID but I don't have the objects in my local storage, so basically that means the client is out of date. In that case, the client should ask the server for the updates that I didn't receive previously. So basically it's some kind of a lost message, basically just handling of lost messages on WebSocket because of a disconnection and reconnection. I think I will have a different video or multiple videos to tackle that, because that can be a little bit tricky. But here we just assume that the WebSocket connection is 100% reliable and it'll never disconnect. Right? To do here. And then we want to basically do the same code here. How about just have a different function for that? Headers. No. Returns itself. Right, just copy that. I guess that's fine. It feels kind of weird. because the address and the other data is like in the same dictionary or the same object, but well. So here, after we get the node, we can do my address node and the actual address like that. So I don't really know like what's the difference between node and shape, but well, let's just change it here. See if it still works. Fixed shape is a subclass of node, so this should be fine, right? Let's try that. Hey, that works. That's nice. It's always magical to say something just works. Okay. Just go crazy like that. And if I refresh, just to make sure. Okay, seems like it's still working. It's good. Okay, so it took about an hour to do this. So I guess I'll just do the drag and drop in the next video because I don't want to drag it too long. Yeah, I'm very happy that it works. Okay, I guess. Oh, by the way, I think I'll just post the source code of this project somewhere in the description or in the chat. And feel free to look at the code and ask any questions you might have. But otherwise, see you next time.